it would be really fun if we were doing doggy style in the mirror. And you know how you love to see my boobs swinging back and forth? Well, I'd like to hold a vibrator on my clit while we do that. And sometimes I'd like you to reach around and put your fingers in my mouth and hold me and let me suck on your fingers and maybe you squeeze a boob now and then. Would you be willing to try something like that with me?
Welcome to the Pleasure-Led Podcast, a podcast to inspire and empower you on your pleasure journey. If you are new here, hi, I am Patricia. I am the award-winning pleasure educator. I am certified in fitness, nutrition, yoga, meditation, breath, tantra, somatic sex coaching, professional dominatrix, kink, and so much more. Before we're gonna get into this pleasure-led episode, I would love it if you could screenshot this podcast episode and share it on your social medias. Tag me, and if there's a guest speaker, tag the guest speaker with your takeaway messages so we can see it and support you on your pleasure journey. Today I have got a beautiful guest speaker with me, which is Susan Bratton, and she's known as the intimacy expert and sexual biohacker. She's a champion and advocate for all those who desire ageless intimacy. And she has created hundreds of techniques that transform having sex into making love. She's one of the best-selling authors and published over 44 books and programs on lovemaking techniques and bedroom communication skills. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Tricia. I'm so happy that we're finally getting to do our show together. I have been looking forward to this for so long. You are my kind of woman. We are such kindred spirits, and we have so many things in common, including the fact that I am also a German girl.
Oh, you are?
Oh, yes. I wasn't born in Germany, but a lot of my family members were. So you and I, it's so funny too, because you have some little monikers, and I have been jokingly called the Queen of Peen because one of my areas of expertise is penis pumping for reversing ED and for male enhancement. And I've written a book about it. You saw that, the pumping guide and things like that. And then someone recently dubbed me the Queen of Orgasms because I like to teach people all 20 kinds of orgasms and how to achieve their orgasmic potential. And most people think that the kind of orgasm that they're having is the one that they have. And it is in fact not at all that. And you know that. And you and I know that using sex toys, which I like to call sex tools, which we also both say, are really good for orgasmic cross training, teaching you how to have orgasms in new ways. It's one of the best ways to stimulate an expanded orgasmic response. But I had always called myself an orgasmonaut, not the queen, not the orgasm queen, but an orgasmonaut, because about 20 years ago, when I was really awakening to my sexuality, when I was in my early 40s, I started an expanded orgasm practice. And I was coming for an hour at a time, like to the point where I just had to stop if I got thirsty or exhausted from orgasms. And I called my mentor who taught me this expanded orgasm clitoral stroking technique to achieve these long, heightened states of orgasmic ecstasy. And I said, Patty, I'm at the edge of this cliff in this darkness, looking out at the void, and I am afraid to keep going, to step off. I'm going into some very uncharted orgasmic territory here. What's going to happen? What should I do? And she said, step off, step out in there, let go. And I said, will I come back? And she said, it could take you a little while to regain some of your complete consciousness because you're going into an altered state.
Wow.
But yeah, honey, you'll be fine. Go ahead and step off. And so since then, I've often thought about myself as being like dressed in a silver spacesuit, really sexy one, of course, and stepping off into the unknown of orgasmic ecstasy and then coming back with the map, the directions to that territory so you could go there and experience that too. And that's what I've been doing is I've been writing step by step orgasm techniques because we all have the same operating system. And so I'm basically like an Olympic gold medal comer. And I like to help women really break out of that, and men. I like to help people across the gender spectrum really achieve, a level of ecstasy and ability to come and confidence and pleasure that they never even imagined could be possible because we don't see it in our media. It's not there. It's very male dominated constructs in our media. So I think that's just about all hell's going to break loose. Women are stepping up and we have the tools now. Like you're so good with the tech tools that, and we have the ability to have these very uncensored, deep conversations on podcasts about how to open to our potential and things like that.
And this is how I discovered you on the podcast, The Diary of a CEO. And I was celebrating you because I thought, there she is, someone with the toys, spreading that message of they are an enhancement for your pleasure potential. So I celebrated you so much. So I was so excited when we then connected afterwards. And I'm like, oh, finally someone.
Yeah, you wrote a really nice comment and it really touched my heart. And that's how we ended up connecting because we didn't know each other. And then it turns out you live in Brisbane where my daughter will be going to college. She's getting her PhD at Coffs Harbour. And so it's just like such a small world these days. So yeah, it's wonderful to be with you.
We always ask the guest speakers a couple questions at the start so we can get to know you a little bit. Where are you currently at on your pleasure journey?
Well, I've been spending a lot of time personally. Over 20 years, I've done a lot of things. I've done the expanded orgasm practice and I've awakened my G-spot and I've learned the beautiful art of female ejaculation and I've learned how to have orgasms from intercourse and I've become massively multi-orgasmic and I've been married for 33 years to a wonderful man who loves to have group sex. So we started having other partners and making love with other partners. And that's been really, really empowering and wonderful. And I've probably had more than 1,000 threesomes and mostly with a small handful of the same people. And so one of the things that I've been doing a lot of is, just learning how to run a lot of energy in larger numbers of people simultaneously, like really how to have deep connection and massive pleasure in group dynamics. So that's been fun. And I've also, over the last few years, worked a lot on writing down very specific techniques for orgasmic intercourse so that women who were feeling like maybe they couldn't have an orgasm from intercourse could realize how to basically come the whole damn time. And so that's been a lot of work. And then most recently, I've been really learning about sex tech. A lot about it. I was just in LA. I was in Hollywood last weekend and I moderated a panel on sex tech at the XBiz Expo, which is a business to business conference for people who have adult toy stores, brick and mortar retailers who sell toys. And so all the tech companies and the tool companies come there and they exhibit. And so I ran a panel on where sex tech is going. And we talked about haptics and teledildonics and warmth and photobiomodulation and inflation and, all of the different things that tools are are taking on as the technology grows. And that was really fun. So I guess that's kind of the arc of some of the things that I've been working on. I'm always writing bedroom communication techniques. I'm always writing pleasuring skills, and I write a lot about erotic play dates. It's giving you specific ideas that you can do to keep learning different aspects of your sexuality in really fun ways.
And what is something that brings you personally a lot of pleasure? And that could be
I
anything.
like just having really languorous, pleasurable lovemaking with my partners. That's what I like the most. That, and I like speaking from the stage. I like doing conferences. Most people don't hire me to come in and tell you how to have hot sex. People aren't ready for that. So my Trojan horse into getting stage speaking opportunities, because I love the audience interaction, because I am such an educator at heart. I just love to tell people how to do shit so they can have a great time. And I talk a lot about sex span, extending your health span, and what is sexual biohacking, and how do you have ageless intimacy? Because the longer you keep having hot, pleasurable intimacy, the longer you live and the happier you are and the healthier you are. It's really additive. People say that, it's like nutrition, exercise, and sleep are the cornerstones of longevity, but it's only because we're such a repressed society that intimacy isn't the fourth pillar. That is the fourth pillar. The people who have great intimacy, they look younger, they're healthier, and they're way happier than people who don't.
Going into one of the questions from my audience, so because you are very specific and expert in also communication in the bedroom, I have got quite a big male following who's usually asking one of the common questions of, how can I get my girlfriend to use toys? But then I've also got women on the other side who ask in a shy way, I would like to introduce toys because I actually need that clitoris stimulation, but I don't know if that he's going to feel intimidated by it. So what can you say or recommend? How can couples start a conversation about experimenting with new toys or tools that feels safe for them, but also exciting for both of them?
Yeah. It's one of the most common questions that we always get, you and I both. That's what we hear a lot. And at the very top of the pyramid of understanding how to approach this, you've got to understand that it's the only reason that someone hasn't yet fully embraced the incredible diversity and pleasure that sex tools bring into lovemaking is fear. And that's often, fear is generated through a lack of knowledge. And the lack of knowledge is often exacerbated by repression and shame, primarily religious. So the people who struggle the most are the people who have had very little sex education, who have been told that sex is for procreation only, who feel like all that you need is your body, all of these kind of like very old patriarchal constructs that are to keep you down. That's what they're doing. They're repressing you and controlling you through that kind of lack of information, abstinence only, sex education, never learning anything about how your body works, etc. So the very first thing that you have to do is you have to bring a very kind heart to the partner that has the fear, and know that it's fear from a lack of information. And then you have to look at, okay, how does my partner take in information the best? Because some of us are visual, auditory, or kinesthetic learners. And kinesthetic learners do best if you put a toy in their hand and say, this is what I had in mind. And like, I'm just going to show you one of my favorite toys. This is the Queen. And it's one of the things I'm recommending right now. My number one top sex trend of 2025 is yoni massage. out of my top 10. It's the number one trend. Women want it, men want to give them, and they're not sure how to do it. And they think they need to just do it manually, when in reality, using a tool can make it way more pleasurable, efficient, etc., orgasmic. And so I would do something like, I got this and I want to show it to you and I want you to feel it and I want to explain how it works. And, here's what it is. And it uses this technology, and feel how nice it is, and feel how the movement of it, what it's really going to do is it's going to send signals of pleasure into your tissue and bring blood flow in and expand the surface area and send more pleasure signals to your brain, so that your brain, your biggest sex organ, actually registers this as incredible pleasure. And when you start talking about it with a little science, with a little show and tell, with an explanation of what you hope the experience can be, for some people, that is really helpful. For other people, it's tell me what it is that concerns you about it. Let's get deep into why thinking about using a tool seems wrong to you or uncomfortable to you. Is it that you think you'll be replaced? Is it that you think it's cheating? Have you been told these tools are bad in some way? Where is it coming from? Tell me why you're triggered by this. So some people are able to do that, but not most people. Most people aren't aware of their triggers. They have a vague uneasiness. They would never be able to put a point on it and tell you exactly what it is. And so then sometimes it's another strategy is to say, what I would call fantasy sharing. I would often do this while you're making love to your partner and say, baby, I have this fantasy, maybe while you're riding him cowgirl, if he's resistant to tools. I have this fantasy and I can't stop thinking about it. And I was really hoping that you could help me try something new together with us in the bedroom. And that is that
Are you ready to unlock, widen, and deepen your ultimate peak pleasure potential? Then I invite you to go to pleasurelit.com for more details. If you're curious to find out more about me and my own pleasure journey, I highly suggest you go to pleasuretoyqueen.com to join. I will see you there.
I'd like to really warm myself up by using a vibrator on my clitoris while we're doing a couple things. And I keep thinking about how amazing it would be if you held me and played with my boobs, and I held that vibrator on my clitoris and we kissed. And that would turn me on so much to have all that stimulation. And I would like to try to have some orgasms that way. Or I was also thinking it would be really fun if we were doing doggy style in the mirror. And you know how you love to see my boobs swinging back and forth as you're fucking me? Well, I'd like to hold a vibrator on my clit while we do that. And sometimes I'd like you to reach around and put your fingers in my mouth and hold me and let me suck on your fingers while you're fucking me. And I've got a vibrator on my clit, and maybe you squeeze a boob now and then. Would you be willing to try something like that with me? Because I just can't get it out of my mind. Like, that's another approach.
No to that?
How can anybody say no to that? All I have to think about is my boobies hanging and, like brushing the bed back. And that is enough for me. So giving them examples is really, really helpful as well. Another one could be, and I'll end with this one, but it could be something like, I love it when you fuck me and it turns me on so much and I really have a great time, but I'm not orgasming when we're having intercourse. But I think I could if I had a vibrator on my clit. And then I think I would learn over time how to do it even without a vibrator. but I want to do what I heard. I heard this thing from this sexpert named Susan, where she talked about orgasmic cross training. And, the gym, I do that all the time in the gym, right? I'm always trying new moves and things. I think I'd like to try that in bed with you. Would you be open to me experimenting a little bit? Because I'd love to have even more orgasms with you. Stuff like that.
Amazing tips to really give them the idea of what actually the benefits are. Like, we will get more pleasure out of it, to actually explain it in that way instead of just purely saying, I want to use that toy. Because men, there's the other part. When I, for example, post something on Instagram and I had a reel going viral with 3 million views, 4 million views about all my tools and toys, and I hit a bit the wrong audience. And a lot of them felt intimidated by the
Yeah.
toys and tools. Like, this is a replacement, or how can we compete with that? And you will never be happy with having intercourse. Now you won't find a man, all of that. So how can we, or what are your ideas on how can we help men shift that mindset of seeing toys as intimidating, but rather like an enhancement for pleasure?
Yeah. One of the biggest things that people don't understand about toys is the notion that it's because we don't understand how our genital structures work. And the biggest thing that I find really helpful is when you explain to, and it's men who are triggered by women using sex toys. I mean, that's what it is. Men feel like they're going to be replaced, not women. And, I've literally never heard a woman say that to me. I've only ever heard men say it, or women tell me their men are saying it. Have you ever had a woman be like, oh no, I think I'll be replaced if we use a sex toy?
I don't think I have, but I can feel that this might shift as technology is progressing. And with all of that, I've heard women complaining more about he's using pornography. He's watching porn instead of, having sex with me. So I think there's just a different shift between women and men of like, there's a pornography issue and there's like, oh, I'm afraid of you having sex toys.
That is fair, Trisha, because I'll tell you what's coming. Jesus, it is going to change everything. And that is the augmented reality with haptics and teledildonics. I mean, men aren't going to leave their house. They're going to have a stroker on their cock. It's starting now with the cam girls, the Colombian cam girls mostly. And those cam girls have those, dildos, and they fuck them and they suck them and they stroke them. And the men can put in more tokens and it turns them up and makes them work even more and makes them come. And they're feeling on their dick what she's doing to herself with the dildo, whether she's fucking it, sucking it, or jerking it off. And that level of dopamine is hugely addictive. And when it turns into augmented reality, it's going to be another order of magnitude more addictive, to the point where the men today who are having a hard time, they're watching more harder core porn. And now they can't get an erection with, a girlfriend, a human female anymore. That is going to be so bad out there. We're going to lose generations of men to remote orgasm devices and augmented reality. So we're on the cusp of that being a huge problem. And it's interesting too, because, and there isn't so much of that for women at this point. And I do think that it is because men generally do tend to be more visual. Some are very auditory, some are kinesthetic, but overall, I'd say men are more visual. But porn is teaching women to be more visual too. As more and more women watch porn, they're starting to become more visual. So I don't know whether it's the chicken or the egg on all that stuff. But generally, I want to go back to the question that you asked me and answer it very succinctly. So ask me specifically again so I can be very succinct in my answer.
Just to also connect to that prior. I've just received a stroker that actually connects with any videos and then the porn that you're watching. You've got different sleeves that you can use, but it does the movement from the video. So they can really have that feeling of like, whatever happens there, I feel it. So, and then this is just the beginning of that technology.
That's right. Exactly.
But yeah,
Just the beginning.
What I was asking was about how can we help men to shift their mindset so they don't see toys as an intimidation, but rather as an enhancement for pleasure.
Right. I got off on that. Was this really a question men are asking or women are asking? And it is men feeling worried about being replaced. So one thing that I know that men love is to hear us come and to make us come. Like, honestly, there's a lot of talk about men being selfish sexually, but I have generally in my lifetime mostly found that the only reason a man comes off as selfish is that he literally just hasn't had a good sex education to understand what to do. And that we're getting better at as well with people like you and me out in the world. And so he wants to give us incredible pleasure. And when you talk to a guy and you say, well, you use tools. I mean, I joke that if Makita made a vibrator, guys would buy it and use it on us, like the branding of the, the power tool brand, Makita. They've got the, screw, all the different electric devices for construction. That would make it more approachable for them. They don't quite understand how it all works. And so they need to have more experience and exposure to it. And I also think that it would help guys if someone explained to them, look, there's basically 8 types of pleasure tools that work on the vulva and vagina. And you could actually start to become really handy with all of them. And then here's how you incorporate them into sex. So here's 10 ideas for ways to use these devices on your female partner. That would be really helpful for men as well. So they know what to buy, how to use it, and create experiences. And then they would understand that when they have the right tools for the right job, that they are actually giving her so much more pleasure than any other man out there who's afraid of it, that they have a competitive advantage. So he's always looking to be respected for the job that he does. He's always looking to win. And he's always looking to be appreciated for it. And so when you frame it in those ways, when you say, here would be the tools I would like to try in the following order. And the reason that I want to try a thruster is because I'm trying to, learn how to orgasm while we're having intercourse. And I think that'll help me. Or I'd really like to activate my G spot because I'm interested in trying to become a female ejaculator. I'd like to unleash my feminine waters on you and experiment with that. And so I'd like to try this G spot activator. Or I'm trying to really work on my clitoral erection because I've heard that if I get a really good clit boner, then everything else we do feels better. So I'd like to try an air stimulator before, kind of like in the foreplay air time frame of our sex, so that when you're finally penetrating, I've got a boner too, because I just learned that women have as much erectile tissue as men, but it takes us longer to get it erect. And I would like to have some support so everything we do feels good. Like, any one of those kinds of things would give a guy more guidance to know what you're going for and reduce his concern that he's not enough.
I like also there the idea that you've mentioned before, that visualization of like, look at all these amazing things that's going to happen. And then if we add the toy in there, because everything is already juicy in that fantasy, and then why wouldn't you want that? But I also think it's for men, they usually think straight away dildos, the replacement of their penis, instead of there are so many toys and tools out there, even putting a blindfold on and, restraining your arms. It's a toy and tool. And there are so many toys, obviously, for men out there as well. And something else that I've recently discovered is, because I think it's really important for that communication and helping people to get started on their pleasure toy journey, I might actually develop a little pleasure toy card game with some starter questions that couples can use in like a pleasure toy date and exploration journey.
I think it's a great idea. I'd love to coordinate and collaborate with you on that.
Yeah.
One of the toys that I recommend for women who have recalcitrant boyfriends and who are fearful is a cock ring, a vibrating cock ring. And I also recommend that for women who are having difficulty orgasming directly from intercourse without needing direct clitoral stimulation. And that comes from just having enough warm up and engorgement so that all the tissue that wraps around the vaginal canal gets plump and gets an erection, if you will. So there's enough material, sensation, sending enough signals to the brain. And so if you want to cross the gasm chasm, close that orgasm gap, be able to have orgasms from intercourse without anything but a dick. A cock ring is really good. Have you seen the Atom Plus? Do you know this toy? I
Yes.
really like this double vibrating cock ring for couples. The penis and the testicles both go through here, and it can be really nice because it has a remote so you can, work on it. But I also like little toys like this with a lasso, because then you're going to get like the perfect fit, because you can make it really small or you can make it really big, because guys' dicks are different sizes on different days. It just depends on so many factors. And so I like something like this. It's very low profile and has, this is a little satisfier cock ring.
Yeah.
And these can be really nice too, because I just think the lasso closure is brilliant for people. Then it's gonna fit you. So that's almost always what I recommend as like the starter toy for couples to introduce sex toys into the bedroom is vibrating cock ring.
Yeah. With that just said about the different size of the dick, the cock, the penis, it is true. So for example, for chastity cages in my masterclass, I actually had to explain to them, you need to measure on different times of the day and even temperature in summer, winter, your measurements will be different in the morning, lunchtime, evening, temperature. So it's a very interesting point. And it's the same with vulvas. They change over time too. When I've taken photos of myself, 1 week for a custom photo, and then the next week I'm like, looks slightly different, but it's the same one.
Yes. Oh, my girlfriend has a program called Pussyology. She's in the Intimacy Alliance that I'm inviting you into, and she's going to do vulva readings for us all. You got to do the vulva readings with us. I think it'll be so cute.
Where can people find you if they like to work with you, find out more about you?
Yeah. Well, I don't do any one-on-one work, but because I'm a publisher of passionate lovemaking techniques, so I have a newsletter that I send out twice a week at betterlover.com. And if you have a question for me, you can reply to any email that you get from me on my newsletter. That goes directly to my inbox. So people email me every day. I get questions from people, and 90% of the time it's like, oh yeah, this book will fix that, or read this article, or watch this video. And sometimes it's a little more complex and we have to go back and forth to solve the problem, whatever it is. There's a lot of multifactorial issues out there. But I just do that for free because it helps me become smarter. So I don't do any like one-on-one coaching. It's all just my content, and 90% of that is free. So betterlover.com is good. And then Instagram, which is my name all smushed together, Susan Bratton. And that's SUSAN BRATTON, Susan Bratton.
I love that, because it's so important to actually reach more, so you can actually spread more pleasure into the world, help more people to really unlock their pleasure potential. The questions that I get, I rather than answer it, create some content around it, put it in there, because I'm going to get the question again, and then I can just refer to it. Amazing. Love that.
That, when you've been doing this for decades and you get emails from people and DMs from people every single day for decades, what you realize is that people think they're broken and there's something wrong with them and they're weird and different, and and pretty much we're all pretty much the same, and we all have the same questions. And so if you think, oh God, I'm so weird or there's something wrong, you're not. You're fine.
Yeah.
You're good, baby.
Yeah. What is one of your favorite pleasure toys?
God, I broke this one and I got to get a new one. I think I fucked myself too hard with it. This one is a satisfier, and I can't even show you, but it inflates.
Close up.
It blows up inside your vagina, and it has a rabbit clitoral stimulator. I literally, I got to call Satisfier today and be like, I need 3 more of those because I don't know how I broke it, but I did. And I hadn't had a new sex toy that blew my fucking mind like this in I don't know how long. And I like their heated toys too. Their heated toys are incredible. I like a nice warm toy on my pussy. But this one, when it blows up, one of the things that I've been doing is I've been running around with a balloon showing people what a vagina actually looks like inside and why it doesn't just want why it wants the pressure in the whole cave and why your penis should be working every area of that cave to activate that tissue to make her more orgasmic from intercourse. And when I got this inflatable, I think it's called the Air Pump Bunny.
It's the Air Pump Bunny 5 Plus. I've got that one too, and I've also got the Booty Air Pump as well.
Yeah, have you tried the Booty one yet?
Yeah, I have tried the Booty one too. Yeah, that looks like a dummy basically. It's like I'm gonna pop that in my butt like a dummy.
How was it?
It was good. I love that feeling of being filled up and having that full. Like I'm experimenting, so I love that anyway.
Me too.
So new pleasures, new experiences. I'm always for it. So
me too. And this was the one that I loved the most. And I'm sad because it's not blowing up anymore. And so I'll be getting another one. But that I think is one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites is the Curve from Hot Octopus. Have you tried that?
I haven't had that one yet. No.
One of the things I like about it, it has this really soft tip.
Squishy.
And what's great about, I like to deep throat my husband's cock while I have this in my vagina. And that kind of filling both ends is really nice. And it gives me throat-gasms and pussy-gasms simultaneously. And so that's another party trick of mine. That's one of my faves right now.
Yeah, that one looks...
I might do that tonight.
Squirt alarm for me, that one. That perfect curve and that head.
Yes. It's so good for that. I know. I love it so much for that. I can really make myself squirt a lot with that product.
Do you have a favorite book that you could recommend?
Yeah. I think probably The Woman's Anatomy of Arousal by Sherry Winston is my all-time favorite book about sex. It is chock full of vital details about the female sexual operating system, and it definitely helped me orgasm more ways and more intensities and more frequencies, etc. So I like that book.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. For anyone listening, it would be amazing if you could screenshot the podcast episode and then tag us, share it, tag us, both of us in there with your takeaway message of this podcast episode. And
that's a great idea.
Because I would love to hear what they've taken away from this. And I can only see it if they tag us both in there. So take a screenshot, share it, let us know what was the most interesting part of it. And then one last question I've got for you. What would be like your number one tip or one of your best tips for everyone in regards to pleasure?
That pleasure is a practice and you keep getting better at it and expanding it. So, and that it's the antidote to stress. And we are under so much stress in our cultures today that the more that you can evoke pleasure and slowly warm up to and expand it, the healthier, happier, and longer you live.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for coming onto the podcast.
My pleasure. Are you kidding me? I loved it. I literally would do this every day with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into this pleasure-lit episode. I would love it if you could share this episode along with your loved ones, and also make sure you follow and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And if you haven't rated or reviewed the Pleasure-Lit podcast yet, it might be time to do this now. I will see you or hear you at one of my next episodes with love and pleasure. Mwah.